Hey YouTubers, today we have a GE gas cafe oven and the upper bake element or bake is not working, so we're going to be changing out the igniter. This is what the igniter looks like. We have a link in the description below. So to get to it, we're going to be removing this bottom panel, and to do that we're going to take out two 1/4-inch screws here in the back left and back right. We're going to be replacing the igniter that we just showed in that picture. So this is an angle tool that we use to help get into these tight spaces, and we'll put a link in the description below for this tool also. It's a good quality one that lasts a long time. So I'm going to be using that tool to take out that screw in the back left, and then I'll take the one out in the back right, and I'll be able to get this panel off. Yeah, this is kind of a tight space. When you have the double ovens, the upper oven tends to go out faster because it gets used a lot more often, and because there's two ovens, that area is kind of small, so you need these special tools to get in there. So I'm taking out the screw on the right side in the back, and I can lift up on this bottom panel. I lift up the back of it first, and then I can slide the front part out. So that's the bottom panel, and then there's another panel called the heat deflector. It's held in also with the 1/4-inch screws, so I'm going to use that same tool to give me some good leverage. Get all those screws out, and then I can pull that heat deflector out, and underneath it I'll have the burner tube where the flame is, and then I also have the igniter. So the heat deflector just kind of evens out the flame, dissipates it, so you have more even cooking. And it's just being held in, I think it's with 3 1/4-inch screws in the front, 2 on the side, 1 in the middle. Once you get those out, you should be able to lift it up. And then the back's held in with a couple of little tabs. You just pull towards you. And you can see to the left there, near the back, is the igniter. It's off at a 45-degree angle. It's held in with 2 1/4-inch screws. We can't see them right now, but they're right where my fingers are. So we're going to use a 1/4-inch driver with an extension to get to it. I'm going to pull on the igniter wires a little bit to expose them. I'm just going to pull them toward me. Don't want to pull too hard here because you may disconnect the modular wire connector. We want to keep that still connected. So I'm just testing it right now. I got the power turned on again, and I'm going to set it for bake, and I'm just going to see if the igniter glows. When you press start, you should hear a click coming from this area where the keypad is, the controller, and then you should start to see the igniter glow. And we see that it is glowing, but it's not glowing super bright. So this is a good sign. It means that it is getting power, but the igniter is just kind of worn out. When they get worn out, they do glow, but they don't get to a point where they're hot enough to allow the gas to ignite. So now I've got it unplugged, and I'm going to cut these wires. These are the wires that are going to the igniter, bring power to it. I'm cutting it pretty close to the igniter. I'm using my 1/4-inch driver to take out the 2 screws that hold the igniter in position, and I'm going to pull the igniter out. I cut the 2 wires that were bringing power to it, and now I can use my hand to just spin off that one last 1/4-inch screw. Actually, I'll use the driver to give me a little more leverage. This one's made by DeWalt, so it's pretty tough. I've had it for many years. There we go. Alright, so we should be able to lift off the old igniter now. They last usually about 4 years. So here's what it looks like. Here's a picture of the new one. You can get a new one. We have one in the description below. In the video here, I just happen to have kind of a general igniter that works for most models. What I'm going to do is take the igniter part in the middle, and I'm going to remove it from its metal cage. Then I'll remove the old igniter from the old metal cage. I'm going to put the new igniter in the old metal cage. You can do this pretty easily just by pulling the metal apart. It's not very strong at all. Lift out the good igniter. Be careful that the end of the igniter, the metal part of that igniter, doesn't touch anything because they're really fragile. That's why you want that metal cage around it. On this model, the metal cage doesn't really protect the tip of the igniter, so you just want to be really cautious. So now I've got the old metal cage. I'm putting it over the porcelain piece, and then I'm going to squeeze in on it with my hand, and then I'll use some pliers too to get it a little tighter. And it's basically just a bracket that holds the igniter. Once again, that part that looks kind of shiny and glimmery, that's the part you don't want to let it touch anything because it's pretty fragile. So now I'm carefully putting it into the cavity. I'm going to put the 1/4" screw already into the hole, and I'll get my 1/4" driver with an extension, and I'm going to put the igniter in position, and then I'll kind of feel around for where that hole is. I'll put the screw into the igniter bracket hole first, and then I'll put it in position and kind of feel around where that hole is, and I should be able to feel that it's into that hole, and then I'll start to turn it righty-tighty to tighten it. So again, be careful of the tip of the igniter. So these igniters are actually pretty cheap. I think both the one we used in the video here and then the one that's designed for the oven from Amazon are for about 25 bucks. So here's another 1/4" screw that's going in there to hold on the bracket. I'm just going to use my hand to get it started, get it as tight as I can get it, and then I'll use the 90-degree driver to tighten it a little bit more. All right, I'm going to make sure you have it unplugged. I'm going to strip back about a 1/4" of the igniter wires and about a 1/4" of the wire coming from the oven. I'm going to take one of the wires coming from the oven and one of the igniter wires, doesn't matter which one. I'm going to put the ceramic wire nut on it, and I'm going to twist it to the right as far as it'll go. It should be nice and tight. I'll do the same thing with the other wire. Strip back about a 1/4". So remember, either of the wires coming from the oven can hook to either of the wires coming from the igniter. So there's not a polarity issue. It doesn't matter. Either one of the wires from the oven to either one of the igniter wires is fine. So I'm going to get both of those wire nuts on really tight. And I want to push the wire back into the firewall, back into that hole, so that that wire is not going to be in there while the food is cooking. I want to get it back into the firewall where it's protected from the heat. So now I'm going to test it, make sure it works. I'm going to set it for 350 degrees, and I'm going to press start, and then I'll watch the igniter. It should glow. It'll probably glow brighter than it did last time though, and hopefully it'll ignite the gas. So there's a little glow starting. I'll turn off the light here so you can see better. I got it plugged back in after doing the wire connections. So it's getting a lot brighter than it did last time, and then we should see a little flame kick in after about 60 seconds. There we go. So it was hot enough where the safety valve opened up and let the gas flow in, and now the gas ignited, and it'll just keep going until it reaches the desired temperature, 350 degrees. So we know it works, and we're going to go ahead and turn it off. We'll let it cool down a little bit, and then we're going to put the panels back on. This whole thing should take you about 20 minutes, and you don't have to pull the oven out or anything. It's pretty easy to do. If you can't unplug the oven, you can always turn off the breaker before you start cutting the wires. All right, here is the heat deflector. I'm going to put the tabs in the back. Tighten up those 3 screws, and then here goes the bottom panel. I'm going to bring it in, put the front lip in first. Then I'll set down the back, and then I'll put those 2 long screws in the back left and back right hand corner. There we go. Slide the racks back in. And now we're going to set it for 350. Give it about 10 minutes and it should get up to 350 degrees. There we go, we hit 350. So we know the igniter's working well, we know the controller's sending power, everything's working right, and we're back in business. Should last again probably another 4 years before we have to do another igniter replacement. But real easy to do, should save you a couple $100 instead of having someone else come in and do it for you. All right, thanks so much for watching. To our channel when you get a chance, and also click the little bell notification button so we can send you weekly videos on all the different ways of fixing appliances around your home and saving you lots of money. So thanks again for watching, and please also press the like button for our video if this was helpful to you. Feel free to contact me at the email listed below, which is scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com with any of your questions.